If you're in the market for a wireless open-back gaming headset, your options are surprisingly limited. In fact, there's really only two viable choices right now. You've got the Skullcandy Crusher PLYR 720 for $260, or you've got the Turtle Beach Atlas Air for $180. Now both these headsets come with spatial audio capabilities and low latency for wireless gaming, but they have some very big differences. So which wireless open-back gaming headset is best for your setup? Well, let's dig into it. Starting with design and comfort, both headsets go for that gaming aesthetic, but they feel quite different in use. The Skullcandy Crusher PLYR 720 weighs in at 354 grams, it's got memory foam ear cushions and a silicone suspension headband, which I do worry about the material degrading over time. Even though the headset is on the heavier side, the strap does distribute weight well and it is comfortable to wear for hours. The Turtle Beach Atlas Air is lighter at 321 grams and features an interesting, floating ear cup design that has these kind of elastic suspension bands instead of traditional hinges. The big plush ear cups are super comfortable, especially if you're someone that wears glasses. This will be a better fit for you since the clamping force is pretty weak. I did find that this headset could shift around very easily, moving my head. I mean, look at this. Even a light head shake will just, have the headset flying right off. The Atlas Air also has a more traditional mesh fabric headband with adjustable Velcro straps on the outside. Obviously, both these headsets are intended to be used in quieter environments since they are open back, meaning, you're going to hear everything around you, and everyone will also hear your game audio leaking out of the headset. But being an open back design also makes these more breathable, which helps keep your ears from getting too sweaty during those marathon gaming sessions. For pure comfort over long gaming sessions, I think I gotta give it to the Atlas Air for being lighter and having a better suspension band, but there is the caveat that the loose fit might annoy some people, especially if you're jerking your head around or you get a little too excited during those competitive matches. Controls and features. So starting off with the Skullcandy, the Crusher PLYR 720 has a multi-directional joystick on the left ear cup that handles volume, side tone, chat mix, and EQ cycling, all packed into one control. Honestly, I think it feels like a little bit too many functions in one single control, and I did accidentally often trigger the wrong thing during the wrong moment, during an intense gaming session. It's very easy to just press the joystick in the wrong way, triggering the wrong thing. Does require a bit of memorization. But the real star of the show is that big rubber wheel on the right ear cup, which is solely dedicates the intensity of the Crusher bass drivers. Crank it up and you will literally feel explosions rumbling through your skull. There's also a custom button that toggles spatial audio and head tracking, though weirdly it's not actually customizable within the app, at least yet. Maybe that's something they'll fix with a firmware update. The controls on the Atlas Air keep things a little bit simpler. You get 3 physical buttons and a large volume wheel on the left ear cup. I find the controls here to be a little bit more intuitive and less prone to accidental presses, though the buttons are all similar shapes, so they can be a bit hard to distinguish by touch alone. The flip to mute mic is also convenient, more convenient than pressing a button, and it gives you an audio cue when activated. For software features, I'd say both headsets have pretty solid companion apps. The Skullcandy app offers a 5-band custom EQ, chap and game mix controls, LED customization, and a hearing test that can tune the headset to your ears. The Turtle Beach Swarm app, on the other hand, has a more detailed 10-band custom EQ, and they've got more EQ presets tailored to gaming, including their, so-called superhuman hearing preset, which basically just accentuates some game effects like footsteps or gunfire, more tactical audio cues like that. Overall, I say the Turtle Beach app feels more polished, is less buggy than the mobile app, especially of Skullcandy, and the 10-band EQ just allows you to make those more finer adjustments. Connectivity and battery. So both headsets offer similar connectivity options, being Bluetooth, low latency wireless dongles, and 3.5mm analog connections, but Skullcandy has one trick up its sleeve, which is dual wireless audio. So that means you can connect to your game via the 2.4 GHz dongle, while simultaneously staying connected to Bluetooth for things like, say, Discord or just listening to music. Turtle Beach, on the other hand, makes you choose one or the other, which won't really suit multitaskers. The Turtle Beach headset also also doesn't support USB audio, which is something the Skullcandy Crusher PLYR 720 does. Xbox users should note too that you can only use the Atlas Air via a wired connection to the controller, whereas the Skullcandy Crusher PLYR 720 does come in an Xbox specific variant if you want wireless connectivity. Overall, Skullcandy takes the lead on connections. You got dual wireless audio, you got wired USB audio, and you got wireless Xbox support if you buy the console specific version. For battery life, both headsets are pretty close. The Skullcandy hits about 50 hours with Crusher mode off, while the Atlas Air stretches ahead to about 57 hours. Of course, if you're using Skullcandy's haptic bass drivers, that is going to drain the battery a bit faster. Both headsets charge via USB-C and can also be used wirelessly while charging, so that's a nice touch. So both headsets have pretty solid microphone performance, but they each have slightly different strengths. I found that the Atlas Air's microphone delivers very natural voice quality and has good app-based controls, including things like noise gate and EQ settings. It handles most environments pretty well, though some background noise can slip through. The microphone itself is also pretty adjustable and will stay in place to where you want to position it right in front of your mouth, which is something the Skullcandy can't do, which I'll show you in a second. The Atlas Air's microphone is removable as well, and you can tuck that part right back in if you don't want it, flipped up, so you can have a more subtle look. Skullcandy headphones also feature a removable boom mic that actually performs much better in noisy environments with excellent noise rejection. However, the only problem is that the boom arm won't stay in place to where you position it. See, it just kind of sticks out, it doesn't move. Like, even though it moves, it doesn't stay where you want to move it. The side tone I notice here on the Skullcandy headset is also a bit more robotic, but honestly side tone is not really something that matters much with an open back headset since you can hear yourself speaking anyway. Now let's talk about how these things actually sound. So starting out with the objective data, in our multi-dimensional audio quality tests, the Turtle Beach Atlas Air scored significantly higher overall results with a 4.5 rating compared to the Crusher PLYR 720's overall score of 3.7. The biggest difference here is in timbre, where the Atlas Air scored a 4.8 versus the Crusher's 4.1, and that means basically that you're going to get a more accurate reproduction of the frequency spectrum. As for tuning, both headsets emphasize the treble range around 8 kHz to enhance things like spatial cues, but that does mean it can get a bit harsh, especially when you're listening at higher volumes. Fortunately, both apps let you adjust this with the custom EQ, but as I said earlier, Turtle Beach's 10-band custom EQ is just going to give you a lot more control, allowing you to make more precise adjustments to the tuning. In my experience gaming with the Atlas Air, I found it had very detailed sound with excellent positional accuracy. In competitive games like Valorant, I felt confident being able to pinpoint enemy footsteps and track the direction of where enemy movement was coming from. The spatial depth and width here is very good. Now, being an open back headset, you do lose some of that bass emphasis, but I do think it's worth it since it keeps the mid-range very clean, which makes it useful for hearing things like tactical cues, voice chat, dialogue-heavy titles. You may hear people describe these headphones as bright, and our tests do confirm that, as they do indeed lean towards the treble. The Crusher PLYR 720, by contrast, is really all about impact. Turn on the Crusher mode and it's literally like strapping a subwoofer to your skull. You can feel explosions, gunfire, punches in Mortal Kombat. You're gonna feel the impact of everything through the Crusher bass drivers. And it can be a genuinely fun experience, especially in, these big cinematic sequences or single player games where you really want to feel every quake and crash. But the effect can get a bit tiring, especially if you have it dialed up all the way. Myself, I could only handle maybe about an hour of Crusher intensity before I needed to dial it back. But thankfully, it's not just all about that bass, and the sound quality without Crusher mode is actually very good, with very strong mid-range and treble strength. So when it comes to spatial audio capabilities, I'd say it kind of depends on what you value more here. The Atlas Air offers fairly precise positional audio for things like competitive gaming, but I would say the Crusher PLYR 720 overall delivers a more convincing illusion of three-dimensional space with better envelopment, and I just kind of felt more immersed in my in-game environments while wearing the headset. The THX spatial audio here and the head tracking in particular are quite impressive, with sounds moving accurately in relation to where you are facing. For overall sound quality, I do think the Atlas Air takes the win for both competitive gaming and just general listening, but if you are after more of that visceral experience and want to feel the vibrations, the Crusher PLYR 720 brings something totally unique to the table. So in terms of price and value, there is an $80 difference between these two headphones, and paying $80 more for the Crusher PLYR 720 essentially gets you the novelty feature of having haptic bass effects in your headset. Here's my recommendation. If you want to feel your games as much as you hear them, and you primarily play in short, intense sessions, the Crusher PLYR 720 is a blast. The haptic bass is genuinely fun for action games, and is definitely going to satisfy all you crazy bass heads out there. However, the Turtle Beach Atlas Air, I think, is the smarter choice for most gamers. I say that because it's more affordable, it's more comfortable for long sessions, and it just has better overall sound quality that'll suit multiple different gaming genres. But hey, maybe open back isn't your thing, or you're waiting for more than, just 2 open back wireless gaming headsets to choose from on the market. In that case, you might be looking for something with better noise isolation in a closed back format, and maybe even something like active noise cancellation in a gaming headset. Well, if that's the case, you can check out my review of the brand new spankin' new Razer Black Shark V3 Pro right over here.